everyone. Excited for today's show. But just before starting today's show, there's something that I wanted to discuss. Obviously, which is the most pressing issue today. And yes, I wanted to request everyone joining in to pray for India. Obviously, we are going through some rough time. It's the second wave of COVID, so prayers will help a lot. Everyone joining in from India, please wear mask. Please don't go out unnecessarily, and please do your small bits. Everyone joining in, we will fight this through and stay strong. Thank you very much. And all right, so talking about today's show, now let me just give you who's coming up. It's obviously Arvind Murali, Chief Data Strategist and Principal at Perficient. Arvind leads the data solutions practice for Perficient, also combining a background in data strategy and governance to deliver transformative data platforms. So she will be talking about data platforms as well. Also today we'll be talking a lot around data governance, human-centric design for data practitioners. So that will be happening. Okay, so before getting in, Arvind, I would like to actually thank our partners 365 Data Science. They have been creating some fantastic courses, so don't forget to check them out. And also How to Get Analytics by John and Albert. They're doing some fantastic stuff. So please do follow them. Okay, without wasting any more time, let's have Arvind here. Arvind, welcome to the Ravit Show. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Excited to be here, Ravit. As I told you before, it's a pleasure.
Yes.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm glad you invited me over.
Thank you very much. Can't wait to talk about a lot of things about data governance, about customer intelligence, the data intelligence. We've been, obviously talking a lot about it, but yeah, before I ask questions, before people ask questions, I know you wanted to talk a little about the current situation. So stage is yours.
Thank you, Ravit. Look, I'm from India originally. I've been there for 22 years. I moved here a little while ago. But as you said, we pray for everybody there. I have family there as well. Please make sure that, at this time, you stay indoors. If you want to go out, you wear a mask and take your vaccines. Every opportunity you get to take the vaccine, take it, right? We will keep praying for you guys there, and we will get through this, right? There is a lot of help internationally, and all eyes are in India. All prayers are for folks in India. So we'll get through this. Make sure that you follow the protocols and you stay indoors. So, I just wanted to share that, Ravit.
Thank you very much, Arvind. That's very sweet of you to, actually address something which is very much pressing across the world, and we can see across borders where India is being helped, and there is always so much of prayers and strength which we're getting. So thank you very much. So we have a few folks. Let's just greet them. We had Gaurav, who had joined before the session itself, before you coming in. So hi Gaurav, thanks for being here.
Hi,
We have
Gaurav.
Shruti. We have Gaurav joining in from LinkedIn. Akshay is here. Hey Akshay. Masoud. Wow. LinkedIn user is here. Ravi Naustwal is here. 360 degrees suggested by you. This. Thank you. Okay, so everyone's here, Arvind. Everyone's eager to learn about your journey, learn about you. But before we start, can we just have a quick introduction? Obviously, I gave a small intro about you, but I think you're the best when you start with your intro. So, yeah.
A small intro is good enough, but as you stated before, right? I work for Perficient. We are a digital transformation company, and my role as a chief data strategist is that I focus on working with my clients both at the executive level and the management level, and make sure that they think about data as an economic motivator. In simple words, data can save money, data can make money, data can create innovation, data can optimize your business process. There is a lot of opportunity to use data to your competitive advantage, right? So I advise my clients to think about that and to execute on that as well. Now, I also lead a data strategy group here in Perficient, which means we basically are advisors for our clients. to go through that journey with them. I'm also, recently I've started writing articles for Forbes, which will show up shortly. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Amazing. And I know you were talking about somewhere, we had discussed about data proficient, and I know we were talking about some introduction about data proficient. Why not, we show up to the audience what exactly you're doing in terms of some infographic or something like that. I
Sounds
can
great.
actually, share, yeah, I can actually share the material that we had
Yeah,
for
sounds fantastic.
people to. Awesome. Here we go. Awesome.
There we
So
go.
this is, yes.
So this is data intelligence. Let me just walk you through the mindset of how you need to think about the data platform itself, right? So you have think of these red boxes as Lego blocks. Okay, you're building one block at a time, or you're building all of these in parallel. But at the end of the day, these red boxes here comprises of your data intelligence platform. So let's start from the bottom, right? The first box you need to think about is this box called collect. What that means is the ability to collect data, unstructured, structured, semi-structured data from any type of data sources, right? Be it SAS, PAS, IAS, you call it, you name it, it'll be there, right? Now,
Yeah.
typically in the world of data strategy or data practitioners, they use words like data lake, data warehouse, data integration. These are all systems that you can collect the data, any type of data, right? Okay, I've collected all of the data, and now I need to organize it in such a way that it makes business sense. These are your hierarchies, these are your customer data sets, these are your product data sets. So any kind of noun that defines your company. You do that as a data governance portfolio. You do that for master data, data quality, customer data platform, so on and so forth. That is the way to organize your data. So now I've collected all the data, I've organized it in a way that it makes business sense. What's the point of all of this if I don't analyze the data and start providing insights, right? These golden nuggets. So this is where BI, machine learning, budgeting and planning, all of these insight generation capabilities comes in play. Now, if you think about it, I've collected the data, I've assembled it, I've produced insights of all these golden nuggets that my data gives me. What's the point of all of that if I don't take action on it, right? This is where I take my insights and I go optimize my business process. These are your process mining engines, your API management. The new cool kid in the block is robotic process automation, or RPA. But look, if you're a chief data officer, you put all of these together to think about your data platform, right? So it's not one thing, it's not one little thing. They have to consider the holistic system. But wait a minute, none of this matters if you don't have a business case that drives all of this, right? So
Right.
this means you have to think about who is using this data. The departments. This is your sales, marketing, HR, finance, the different departments in a company. Now, there is also, these days, there is a concept of data marketplace where you serve data to third-party users. Think of Nielsen, right? If you know Scott Taylor, he comes from a background of working from Nielsen. Now, they have delivered data over the years to a number of third-party users, meaning use our data about retail. And if you think about, for folks in the US, there is a website called data.gov. They have, about 100,000 data sets that describes the world of United States. This is weather, agriculture, retail, traffic. All of these are open data sets. These are third parties that you can use to enrich your existing first party data, right? And last but not the
Right.
least, you know as well as I do, we wake up in the morning and the first thing we do is go to our phone and check news, right?
So true. Right.
Everybody in the world does that. So that means today we don't just look at our laptop to consume information. We look at our phone, we look at our tablet, right? I know a
Right.
CEO that I worked with. He has, I kid you not, 6 TV screens in his house, one in the bedroom, one in the bathroom, one in the hall. Essentially, these TV screens are his news readers. right? He will have his iPad and he'll go like that, and then the TV screen will show up. The cast Chromecast will show up in his TV. That is his news early in the morning, right? That's important for
Yeah.
him to know how his company is running. So there are various ways to consume the data. You got to think about that too. This is what I call as data intelligence. You got to consider all of these, and of course, each one of those has a set of best practices and things to do, if you will. But we're not going to go over all of that today because 1 hour is not going to be enough.
That's so true. I think yes, definitely. Like you mentioned, obviously data is the most important thing when you talk about collection. Then when you consume it, and also how do you action with those data. Like it is the most important thing today when we talk about data. And most of the, I think there are many places where it is missing, but I think Proficient is making that happen,
Absolutely.
using those data very well, in the right places. So
That's
makes
right.
sense. We had a few comments, obviously, from Kate. Kate validates that action is everything. Obviously, Akshay says the same thing. Actionable insights are important in order to disclose the
Right.
actual value of data.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that
Action
makes
speaks
a lot of
louder
sense.
than words, if you remember, right?
That's so true. Okay, we had a quick question from Raymond.
Okay.
Let's pick that up. Most of the companies are missing the organize. How do you organize? How do you set this up in an organization that is not a data driven organization?
Right. Every organization strives to be data driven. So there are two kind of maturity evolution an organization goes through. There is a maturity evolution called data savvy organizations and data driven organization. Now the big difference is this: I have worked with hundreds of organizations who use Microsoft Excel as their database or Microsoft Access as their database. Look, you and I know Microsoft Excel is still the world's largest database. There is no doubt in the world, right? Everybody uses it. But the challenge is you don't get the big picture using Excel. You get whatever you are looking for. Now, there are so many problems by doing that. One problem is bias. If you get a small subset of data and you play with that data and you get the results, have you ever thought about is that data biased to some kind of result you're looking for? Right? Have you looked at the holistic ecosystem? Let the data tell you what the reality is. You don't go look for reality. Right? There is somebody who said this, a quote, I forget who it is. When you go 3 levels down in data analysis, you can certainly get the answer you are looking for, not the answer what the data is telling you. So you're forcing that bias on the data. Don't do that. Those are data savvy organizations, right? Data driven is when you let the data tell you, when you let the machines tell you that this is the art of the possible. Now, I'm not saying the machine should dictate what you're doing. I'm saying let the machines recommend what you need to do. Then you, as a human in the loop, take those decisions. You still drive those decisions. That's when they become data driven, right? Now, as it relates to organize, I would highly recommend go watch some of the videos, Raymond, that Scott Taylor has. He has some phenomenal framework. The 8 8s of data, the 3 V's of data. He has a lot of those framework that will help you discuss with your own organization the importance of organizing data and how can it be tied to a business case. Hope that helps. Ravit, you're on mute.
Oops, sorry. Okay, I think definitely that was very much helpful for Raymond. And thanks for answering in that detail, Arvind. Do we need the data intelligence presentation, like the deck?
Yeah, actually let's
Okay.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good to go. I kind of gave you a rundown of what data intelligence looks like, hopefully.
Yeah, I think definitely makes a lot of sense. Just one question that I had, we also discussed about it when we talk about data intelligence, and this was something which was that came up when we were having our initial call. I remember you gave
Hmm.
me an example about Amazon, and talking about where I do get a message that my parcel is at the doorstep. but when I go there, there's no parcel out there. So how does it work, and
Right.
what is it like? What's
You,
gone wrong with the data?
Yeah, you are talking about a platform play here, right? So Amazon is one of the largest e-commerce platforms in the world. But let's take that example. So what happens is typically, and I've experienced this firsthand. I'm a big Amazon shopper. You order through Amazon, every step of the way, you get to track the product, right? Whatever you've ordered
Yeah,
through Amazon. That is all pieces of data that is run by machine learning algorithms and constantly getting delivered in your mobile application, your user interface, whatever you interact with Amazon.com, right, or Amazon.in. Um,
yeah,
Essentially, every step of the way, they track the package. They constantly interact with their suppliers and carriers of these packages, and they show you what it is. Sometimes this is just, I think I've ordered thousands of products through Amazon. Maybe twice I got this problem, which is Amazon said that my package is out in the door. It wasn't.
exactly.
Right? So I go out there and I don't find it. And when I call them, there was an issue with the data. Believe it or not, the customer service rep on the other side, she said, you know what? I haven't got the data that says the package is not delivered yet. Right? I've only got the data that the package is delivered, but the driver is actually still 1 mile away from your house. So the data got in before the package actually got delivered, but it's not a data issue. It's the human issue because he was typing close package delivered, the button that he has in his mobile phone. And essentially the data got faster to me than the actual package itself. So
Oh
the
my
reason I
God,
bring
yes.
this up is these machines, while they can assemble all of these contents, humans still play a very, very important role in using that data. There is a lot of scare out there that machines will take over the job and all of that. That is not true
Exactly.
at all. Humans drive these decisions. These data intelligence platforms will only help you facilitate those decisions. That's all.
I think definitely that clears my mind as well. Where there's always this question that comes up that okay, machines are gonna take over humans, but
Right.
humans play a very very important role till date, and they will as well. I feel. So
That's
yeah,
right.
thanks for that clarification, Arvind. We had a question from Arvind Kumar. Very
Okay.
basic. What is data
Very
warehouse?
nice name. Go ahead. Go ahead. What is a data
Yeah,
warehouse?
yeah.
Okay. So in 20 years ago, if you ask me the Kimball and the Inman way, I would say data warehouse is a collection of data essentially for analytic purposes, right? It's a very organized data
Yeah.
structure, primarily focused on analytics. Nowadays, data warehouse is moving into a new term called data lakehouse. So remember, in the old school ways, data warehouse used to be very structured relational databases, which is SQL friendly, and all your data model and everything you built on SQL, right? They call it the DDL, and the
Yeah.
DML, and so on and so forth. But now, companies like Snowflake and AWS and Azure, they have essentially modernized the data warehouse concept by accommodating unstructured data as well, SQL friendly
Mm.
unstructured data. So now the data warehouse is evolving into this data lakehouse concept. Actually, Ravit, if you go to the next slide, I have a
Yeah.
whole evolution about how data warehouses became data lakehouses. Yeah, right there.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just to give a quick rundown for the audience here, back in the 80s and 90s, I don't know how many of you were born in the 80s, but what dominated the industry was hardware and software innovation. These were Apple, Intel, Microsoft, all of these companies that had either hardware or software or both. IBM was a behemoth back then, right? Then in the 90s, disruptive small startup companies, you might not know this company, it's called Amazon.com, but
Mm.
essentially they started as a little company selling books, but they opened up a can of worms for e-commerce, anything that is online transaction, right? And then Netflix and eBay, they followed the same trend. So this gave you that idea of a platform. Okay. In the 2000s, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of these guys, they launched the social media revolution, right? So how you can connect with your friends across the world just by sharing pictures, sharing documents, sharing whatever you have immediately. So that world of instant gratification. I post something 30 seconds later, somebody likes it. Oh, I feel so good. right? That whole platform, the social media revolution started. Now, where we are, we took the best of all of that. We took the best of hardware, software. We took the best of e-commerce and streaming. We took the best of social media, and we created what we call a network effect. And here we
Right.
are. That network effect gave birth to a platform. Amazon is a platform, Uber is a platform. So now think about how Uber operates, right? If you think about the traditional taxi business, there are hundreds of taxi waiting in line. They are waiting for you to call them, and then you call them. The first in line actually goes out to pick up the
Yeah.
customer. This is how traditional taxi business works. How does
Right.
Uber work? Uber, when you go to your mobile app, it'll automatically detect your location, and it'll say,
Right.
"You are here. You are my customer. Give me 5 seconds. Let me go find the nearest driver for you." The machine learning algorithms will find the driver that is next to you, and in 5 seconds, it'll come back and say, "There will be a driver picking you up in 30 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever." Right? This is all happening real time with data and machine learning. So now Uber, the largest taxi company in the world, owns no taxi, right?
Yeah.
Amazon, the largest e-commerce company in the world, never owned any retail. Nowadays, they started doing Amazon Fresh and everything else. But think about 10 years ago, right? Udemy or LinkedIn, the largest business community in the world, does not create content of their own other than LinkedIn Learning. All of these platforms are growing because of network effect, because of people like you and I who are using the platform, right? And
Mm.
that's where we are. The next generation is going to be digital economy using platforms at scale. So Amazon, believe it or not, Ravit, Amazon became a verb. When you go talk to your friend, you say, "Hey, you need to
Yeah.
search for this." You no longer say search for this. What do you say? You say, "Hey, can you Google this for me?" So
Oh,
Google
great.
became a verb, right?
Yes.
So, like
That's
that,
so true.
Amazon is becoming a verb where you say the 3-click Amazon experience. When somebody wants to pick the gold standard of user experience, they say, "Why don't you think about the 3-click Amazon experience?" Right?
Mm.
Now, that is how dominant these platforms are. You don't know it, you use it every day, but they are always thinking about you. They are always personalizing things for you, with you. It's a benefit. It's not a curse. It's not bad. It's just the way it is,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. Down the line when also when I think Social Dilemma. Yes, I remember that documentary, and I was like, oh, everyone's just pulling up my data, and I'm being used as a product, and I'm like, is it real? They treat us as a product or something like that. But I think by end of the day, it's a different story altogether, which is our needs. And sometimes it's very much helpful too. You are
Right.
maybe evolving because of these platforms only.
Exactly.
So
And what is interesting about this, Ravit, is that China and Singapore, the countries, they are becoming platform of their own. San Francisco, the city, that is investigating in platforms. So they're going to become a platform for their entire city. So these are countries and cities becoming platforms using technology, especially using data and AI.
wow, I think this is something which will be big. I think it's already big, but the
Mhm,
next one is obviously there are countries which are taking over platforms. They are creating a space for people, and I think it
mhm.
will be much more interesting going ahead. So, does Perficient also have their own platform where obviously they have you guys have your platform, but what's the process of the platform? How does it work, and what's next there?
Yeah, so Perficient offers to build platforms with our client. We are service integrators, right?
Wow.
Now, we do have a Perficient, well, I wouldn't say we have a platform, so to speak, because we are not in that industry, right? So we build platforms for our customers. So we constantly think about three things when it comes to platforms, right? Is my platform driven by what we call the pricing effect? Right? So essentially, that
Yeah.
means, am I offering freemiums? Am I offering discounts and coupons? Is my platform driven by branding effect? So think, JCPenney, Blockbuster, these used to be big companies in the United States. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Blockbuster closed down completely. JCPenney shut down. They filed for a bankruptcy. But what happened is these price effect and branding effect they don't consider the implications of platform. When a platform is not maintained well, when it's not thought through, when it's not architected well, that
Yeah.
happens. The JC Penny effect happens. So the network effect is the most positive way to build a platform, and that is what we focus on. How do you architect a network effect, a positive network effect, right? Uber launched in 2009 in San Francisco. In 5 years, they were evaluated for 50 billion with a B, right? That is how
Mm.
fast the positive network effect is. That's because of users like you and I, right? And they offer a solid technology platform using data and AI, and they have maintained it. They've constantly put in effort. They have ethically looked at it. They have looked at it as architecture best practices. That's what we play. That's what Perficient play a lot. So we advise our companies to think about data platforms, to think about platform strategy, and so on and so forth.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Since we're talking about platforms, Arvind, I had a question. And obviously, Proficient is going out and building, platforms for their clients. But at the same time, I just had one question: how much time does it take for you guys going out and creating a platform? And is it customizable? What are the restrictions? And how does it literally works? What's the requirement? What comes on the table? And then you're like, okay, now we need to focus, because there might be different domains altogether. There might be health industry, finance, or maybe something like say ministry. You never know,
Yep.
like
Yep.
government.
Government. Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. So good question, right? A platform is not a one-time thing, meaning it is an ongoing iteration. The initial platform build takes anywhere between 6 months to 2 years. I know it's a big wide range, but it depends on the size of the company, it depends on the size of the platform, it depends on the network effect, it depends on the number of users we're trying to onboard. Is it a global platform? Is it a country level platform? There are different questions to ask before you estimate how long it would take, right? But typically anywhere between 6 months to a year is what it's going to take. Now, as it relates to the components of the platform, which you asked, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm a big believer of incremental development. I don't believe in big bang, right? So essentially, there are three components you think about when you're building a platform. So the number one
Mhm.
component is what you call information exchange. My platform should be very, very thought through, architected in a way that it provides value with its information about the customer, about the product and service. So the companies that does it well, I know everybody in this call knows who Wikipedia is. What is
Exactly.
Wikipedia? Wikipedia is essentially a platform that collects open text about a topic. If you want to go
Hmm.
research a topic, you just go to Wikipedia and you research it. That's how powerful the platform is. Now, is it moderated? To some extent, right?
Yeah.
But can you use it for your PhD dissertation paper? No, you cannot,
No.
right? At
Right.
the same time, what is their value? Their value is offering you information about any topic you look for. That is what you call as information exchange, right?
Right.
Okay, now I have valuable information about you. Let me monetize that information. Now, Wikipedia is not a doesn't monetize information, right? It's free to go write in Wikipedia or contribute to their contents. Now, where you monetize are platforms like Amazon, Uber, Apple. These are connected. Now, think about how powerful Apple is. Your phone talks to your watch, talks to your TV, talks to your computer. All of these are connected devices as long as they all are Apple devices, right?
Mm.
Now,
Right.
that is so think about that for a second, Ravit. You're running in the morning, your watch tracks you, then your phone
Right.
automatically syncs up with your watch, so it knows how long you ran in the morning. Then you're having your
Exactly.
breakfast. You just take a picture of your breakfast with your Apple phone, and it automatically detects what that is, how much calories it is, and what brand it is. 5 minutes
True.
later, you go and log into your computer. At the end of the day, right? Some of my colleagues tell me, hey, I worked today for 7 hours and 30 minutes. I say, do you sit down and just track how long? No, no, no. My Apple laptop tells me how long I've turned it on, how long I'm actually working, and how long I'm watching a video. I'm like, man, so your machines are tracking you constantly, right? But then at
Mm.
some point, they need to monetize it if they think about it. And
Right.
that's where this whole value chain comes in, the goods and services that they offer, which you pay money for, right? And the
Right.
last but not the least, there are some platforms which offer currency valuation. So the hottest cool kid in the market right now is cryptocurrency, bitcoins,
Right.
right?
Right. True.
Bitcoins are all about platforms trading currency, right?
Mm.
So you look at NFT, non-fungible tokens. Bernard Marr talks a lot about this, right? So
True.
NFT is a way for you to exchange currency, exchange value, right, through a digital asset. It's still a currency, it's still a valid currency, but it's a digital asset. It's not physical currency like you pay money, like in a bank, right? It's
Right.
not that. But that is what the world is up to: the information exchange, the goods or services, and the currency exchange. So you as an
Mm.
organization need to think about which component you want to build, and then you start architecting them from there. Does that make sense?
Very true, very true. And I think that is something very informative, where we are running more around the virtual world, it seems like, but it is creating much of a value for
Mhm.
everyone in the world. And that makes a lot of
Absolutely.
sense. Thanks for that, Arvind.
Yeah.
We had someone from who we were talking about. Scott is here.
Hey, Scott.
Yours
Yes,
open.
yes, yes. Of course it
Okay.
was. Thank you for joining us, Scott.
Thanks, Scott, for joining in. We had a quick question from Akshay Toshniwal. How do we identify the importance of any data before using it for processing it or before we use it in our model? Is there any way to identify it already?
Great thinking. So one of the topics that we're going to cover today, Ravit, is the whole human-centered design, right?
Wow.
Um,
Yes.
so he's asking me a question before we cover it. So I'll say it right off the
Yeah.
bat. If data does not serve a purpose being some business outcome, that data is not useful. Say what you want, right? There might be some exceptions called foundation data, like customer data, product data, and so on. But even that data does not serve a purpose if it doesn't explain a business value, right? So I would say before even you identify any data for processing, think about what business case are you trying to solve, right? Without that, that data is just a bunch of technology sitting out there in a storage or a compute doing nothing for you.
Hmm. I think that definitely answers for Akshay. Arvind, do you want to actually get on to the human-centered data? Do you want
Sure,
me to put on those slides for you?
absolutely, please.
Yes. I think that. Yes.
Actually, yeah, I don't have a slide for the human-centered design, but this is about
Oh,
data
let's see it.
governance. But I'll give
Hmm.
you a simple example, right? If you're a
Oh
data
yeah.
practitioner, there was a statistic that who was that? I believe it was Gartner or CB Insights. Please don't quote me for it. Um,
No worries.
42% of data solutions fail because we don't even need it in the first place. It doesn't fail because you've misimplemented technology. It doesn't fail because the human doesn't know how to implement it. It fails because it is not even needed, right? Now think about that.
Hmm.
We as data guys, we are so excited to see a piece of data that we just put it into a data lake and we don't even know what to do with it, right? But we have to stop thinking about that, start thinking human-centered design. If you're into this human-centered design, I would ask you to follow Brian O'Neill. He has some phenomenal contents. He has some phenomenal videos that he talks about how you as data and AI practitioners start thinking about this human-centered design, right? I'll give you a simple example. If you guys are in the world of Maggie, I absolutely love Maggie noodles, right? Now,
Yeah.
Maggie came up with tomato ketchup a little while ago.
Hmm.
So if you guys remember the bottle has a nozzle on the top and then it goes widened up in the bottom, right? Now the challenge is you have to you have to put the bottle upside down and then you have to do like that in the top so that
Right.
all the sauce falls out, right? Now
True.
go and look at the bottle that Heinz created, Heinz. They
Got
actually had an experienced designer come and design the, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They have
Got
upside
it.
down bottle, right?
True.
Now, very, very simple concept. But think about how much time they've spent in that kind of a design. right?
Hmm.
And then if you're into this, Google Norman door, okay? How a
Yeah.
door can be simplified in a design. That applies to data too. That applies to machine learning algorithms that you're building. Think about how simple it is for me to use this data that I'm trying to build. Not you, the technical person, you, the business person, you, the non technical person. How can they use that data? That is what matters, right? And if you don't know the answer to that, don't build anything.
Hmm.
So sorry to say that. So human-centered design is exactly that. In a nutshell, um, many people use this phrase OODA loop. Kate, I think you brought it up in one of your podcasts. OODA loop is a military term that says observe, orient, decide, and act. OODA, right? So OODA loop is a way for you to think about or sit and just observe how your business operates. Don't do anything. Don't be prescribing solutions to them. And start putting yourself in that shoe, empathize with them, and then figure out how to build a solution for them that they can use. Not because I can build a solution. That's what human-centered design is all about.
I think definitely that answers for Akshay, and he was mentioning that he didn't want to put it up before the other section, but I think Akshay, that definitely answers in. I think great insights. Where you spoke about the ketchup. I know, hence, which is definitely we can just obviously till it's out, till we learn about it, we don't know how it works.
That's right.
But the inventors obviously put so much behind it about studying human. And then
Mhm.
I do you very generic question here, Arvind, do you think these brands like Amazon, these tech giants, they have human centric people around them, like who actually who make these decision makings, do you think?
uh, not only do they have human-centered design, they also have courses to explain to you how they think about human-centered design. So there is a concept called A/B testing, right?
A/B testing, right?
Amazon invests millions of dollars just to test if their button, the buy button, right? The buy button, should it be on the left side of my website or right side of my website?
What's the
They
easiest
go
one? Oh,
exactly. They go through that much length. They do a pilot for 10,000 people. They place the button on the left side for 10,000, right side for 10,000, and then they figure out which is the most easiest way for you to think about it. You just,
oh.
that is the extent at which human-centered design kind of works. Now, again, we are learning all of this from the UX people, right? The folks who are building websites, the folks who
Exactly.
are building mobile apps. Now, we are the data
True.
guys. We are the back-end guys. I call us the plumbers, right? But you can
Right.
learn a lot from the insights that the UX guys actually provide. There is a lot of contents out there with, from leading companies like Apple. Steve Jobs revolutionized the UX design, right? And so he was the father of how to convince people for a touchscreen. Apple did not invent the mouse. Apple did not invent the touchscreen, but they put this all together beautifully so that you cannot say no to Apple,
Right.
right? And that's what the
I think
human-centered design is all about.
I think it's just about reading minds, and reading minds with millions of dollars, spending so much out there.
Right,
And
right.
I'm just wondering, how much these professionals earn out of it, because obviously they are actually doing something. Because there might be, even with the A/B testing, do you think they might even fail at times, or at many times, and they just get
Oh,
through
yeah.
only just once or twice?
Yeah, no, they fail many, 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 many times. That's how you learn, right? Failure is the stepping stone to success. There is not enough times you can say when you fail, just don't give up. You learn from it and
Yeah.
then don't do that again, right?
True. No, I think definitely makes sense. Thanks, Arvind, for that. Okay. So, for the audience, obviously, we'll just turn the table a bit more, and we'll talk about data governance. I know you are core into data governance, Arvind. So, why not, start with something where what is data governance? Can you tell us what it is? What do you feel about it?
Look, I'll give a shout out to Scott Taylor, who is the father of data governance, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
written books about data management. He's been on my show before. But I think data governance, in a nutshell, right? You are looking at a unprecedented growth of data. right? Mobile devices are growing at a phenomenal pace, which means your devices are creating so much data. The number one priority for a lot of organizations, especially in the 21st century, is going to be how can I become data driven, right? Now, there are a few themes that I think data governance needs to think about, or data governance strategists and practitioners need to think about. Number one, you are working from home. You don't have a choice, which means you
Correct.
have distributed teams all over the world, right? Before COVID, even in US, when we start a data strategy project, we have 5 people flying into our client location, and then we go and do data strategy in person. Now we have conducted more than 10 to 15 data strategy gigs over the last year just working from home, which means I've got one person from California, one person from Texas, all of us talking to each other via Teams, all of us constantly talking data strategy. And then when it comes to execution, we are exchanging data, we are exchanging insights via Teams, via Zoom, via Slack, whatever our communication is. That is number one. Number
Correct.
two, data is becoming essential for survival. I'll give you two options, Ravit. Let's say you are a CEO of a company who needs to take a decision on supply chain, right? You've got a Microsoft Excel file which is 100% accurate on COVID data, okay? And then I'm giving you a beautiful website, but it's only 50% accurate in COVID. Which one would you choose?
Obviously, the Microsoft Excel. Why not?
Because your data is accurate, right?
Accurate. True.
And that is the power of data for decision making, especially this COVID, because COVID has identified opportunities to use a lot of data enrichment, a lot of new data that is available for you, right? And Doug Laney talks about data monetization, but he has
Oh
mentioned
yes.
that there are millions of open data sets that are available for people to use. Now is the time for us to use it. And then the third thing we talked about, the acceleration, the booming of digital devices, phone, iPads, tablets, all of those create behavioral data, right? Social media interactions
Right.
create behavior about the customer. How do you interact with a brand? And that is all pieces of data. Then you think about supply chain, right? Supply chain, I read this somewhere. There is a big company, I won't mention the name. They are short
Yeah.
of drivers, especially because of COVID, and
Mhm.
people don't want to leave the house, right? Which means their inventory is impacted big time. They got to find alternatives. So they started thinking about the Uber model. Hey, come and drive for me in a day. I'll pay you X amount of dollars,
No.
right?
Yes.
And that's a
Exactly.
piece of data. That's a piece of data that impacts your supply chain. And last but not the least, cloud is now almost a given. But what is different now is edge. So we work with large oil and gas companies and original equipment manufacturers, right? Tractors, those kind of companies. Tractors have hundreds and thousands of sensors. These sensors are constantly generating data about the tractor itself. Is it getting overheated? Is it going too fast? Is it going too slow? What is the behavior of the tractor? And you are collecting all of that data. Now, it's not just important you collect the data, you have to push back the insights, right? And that is driving data governance. Now, why am I telling you these 5 examples? Because this is data burst, right? You have so much data available for you. And this is where a marketplace comes in handy. You think about data exchanges, right? What did Mayo Clinic build? It built what do they call it? A clinical data marketplace. This is them exchanging behavior data about a patient going through a drug, right? Going through a particular therapy or whatever it may be. And they are exchanging, they are making that a paid exchange for their customers who are hospitals and insurance companies, right? Now, that is the power of data marketplace. But this means you need to have strong data governance, right? You need to learn how to manage your people. You need to learn how to use the data. You need to put policies in place. And very, very importantly, you need to know, why am I using that data for? What business outcome am I trying to drive? Again, without that, all this is pointless, right? So hope that gives you a perspective of why
Yeah.
data governance is so important now.
True. I think definitely this makes a lot of sense, Arvind, because what I feel is you've just picked up the right points when you talk about supply chain, and if there's a lack of drivers out there, the business is
Hmm.
affected highly. And if they don't have that data, that okay, what's the backup? If there are 20 drivers who won't be doing it, they would obviously evolve. They would actually get something which Uber has done. They'll
Hmm.
evolve that model in them. And I think definitely data is the king, and governing it is the most important thing today. We need to, I think it's more about the awareness too when we talk about the data governance, that how much aware you are about the business. So
Hmm.
definitely it makes sense. So I think that we had a question from Shruti, and you answered that clearly. Can you tell us more about data strategy and how it can benefit a company or client? So exactly, uh, what all you've mentioned, I think it just answers our question. Okay,
I would
what I
also
would do?
follow,
Yeah.
Shruti, if you're not doing this already, I would follow Samir Sharma. He's created a
Yeah.
community and a lot of contents about data strategy, right? So I learn a lot from him, and I also participate in his community to contribute. But I would definitely ask you
Yes.
to think about that.
Oh yes, Samir Sharma. I've been on his show. He's fantastic with data strategy. He's one of the game changer when it. And now recently, I've been looking at his videos. The videos that he's creating, it's so intriguing. The questions and all of those things which he brings up, and all the debates that he's planning with Bill Show, Marzo, and John Thompson. Okay, lots
Yeah,
to talk. We'll
yeah.
talk offline, Arvind, about it. But going ahead, obviously I wanted to ask more about data governance. Obviously, you know, where do you actually like? What are the next immediate steps that should be taking in data governance that you feel are most important today, and people are not aware, or maybe companies are not aware, but Perficient is out there, and you are out there to drive them. So what is it about?
Look, as a leader in data governance, we have implemented a lot of data governance initiatives, right? But in the last 6 years, I've been leading Perficient's implementation on data governance the last 6 years. I have seen a massive shift during the COVID times for what it was before. So let me kind of compare and contrast, for a lack of a better word, the pre-COVID, the during COVID, and the post-COVID, right? So pre-COVID, data governance used to be, I wouldn't even say pre-COVID, maybe 5 years ago, data governance used to be this big bureaucratic organization. Who is who in the organization? Who has the most power? Who controls the most data? It used to be that. With the digital transformation acceleration with COVID, now data governance is all about how do I use my data for my business purpose? How do I get more data, more real time data that I can provide real time insights for a particular business outcome? More importantly, in the hands of a business user. This is why the human centered design is so important, right? There is one side of it where data quality is an absolute must. I think it was Scott. Yeah, there you go. He's saying a pretty dashboard with bad data
Exactly.
is just a pretty garbage, right? He's spot on,
So
right?
true.
So you need to think about what does good data mean, right? What are the rules that you need to apply against the data? What are the insights you need to generate against the data? And on the other side, how do I now represent this information in the hands of a business? So that human centered design, right? I forget the example, the fire that happened recently, and there was some cryptic messages that the firefighters actually had in California. This is apparently nobody even understood what that message was, but it was a cryptic machine generated message that says, there is a fire here, go figure it out. What's the point if it's a bunch of codes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? How do I know that means there is
Exactly.
a fire in Santa Monica? you know so it's important that you deliver the information in a meaningful way that the humans are able to consume it and take action on it, right? It's that too, and that's what data governance practitioners are now focused on. It's the management of the data. It is the policies to secure the data, especially because there is a lot more data. And it is the ability to deliver insights to the right people so that they can
Yep.
use it for their business advantage.
Yep. I think definitely that is something very important. And Razil was here and he says the same thing. Without data governance, you cannot depend upon a common approach and pathway between multiple
Mhm.
data elements, and therefore not depend upon the outputs from those data elements. So the output is very important when you're talking about data governance too. When if there's no output or if it's not serving the business purpose, I think that data is just waste data.
I would just tweak that a little bit. There are two
Yeah,
components to this called output and outcome,
outcome.
right?
Hmm.
Outcome drives the output. If you just
Hmm.
have an output without an outcome, it's pointless. So
Yes.
I would think about the outcome first before you build the output.
Yes, I think that's amazing. Okay, we had one question from Megan. Uh, how has COVID affected data governance programs or lack of one?
Yeah. Again, what COVID has done, it has enabled a lot of digital devices. Basically, digital transformation is now all about more data, more ways of using data, more ways of consuming data. Scott talks a lot about this as well, right?
Exactly.
But
Yes.
data governance in that context is I've got so much data now. What do I use it for, right? How do I manage it? And especially now, since everybody is moving in the cloud, how secure is the cloud? It's very secure from a policy perspective, but is it securing my data? And importantly, am I delivering? Are my right people responsible for the data? Right? If you go and ask a marketing person about finance, would they even understand what you're talking about? No, right?
No.
The finance people have to own the finance data. The marketing people have to own the marketing data. So you got to identify who your players are, and then also think about the larger ecosystem you play in. Amazon is a great example, right? Amazon is a middle company between vendors who sell on the platform and customers like you and I who buy on the platform. They have to know from a data governance perspective, they are a marketplace. So, who are the consumers of the data? Who are the producers of the data? You and I produce
Right.
data because we are the ones who
Hmm.
buy things from Amazon, right? The vendors
Right.
consume the data because they have to know that zip code 12345 is buying a lot of Apple Watches at a certain day. So, for Thanksgiving, I need to give more incentives on that zip code. So, they are the ones who use it, right, to create these compensation,
Wow.
these incentive programs.
Yeah,
So,
I think
um,
definitely. Yeah, go
the
ahead, Arvind.
adoption of data governance has been massive, like I've never seen before. I don't even need to talk about data governance. They come to me asking what is the best way. We've already decided to put a data governance board in place. How can we be nimble? How can we be agile? So I constantly use the
Hmm.
word, right? Think big, start small, move fast. That is the goal of data governance. So,
Wow. I think that will be quoted for my promotions going forward. I like that quote. Nice one, Arvind.
yeah.
Okay, we had a very cool question from Ken Chow. Should data and process marry together when designing data governance? Nice question.
Yeah, good question. I think you have to be clear on your business process so that you understand what pieces of data gets generated and consumed along the way. So data governance is about managing the data. Yes, data governance is building policies, but again, the point is you have to understand the business process. What if somewhere in the business process a particular step is broken because of which your downstream has bad data quality? So absolutely, that's a great point, Ken. You have to make sure you understand the process and the data.
Awesome. Thanks. I think nice question, Ken. Also, just wanted to get that human-centered design discussion back and wanted to know more about it. When you talk about it, I know there's also something like customer intelligence that comes in, and I wanted to actually show that map to everyone
Yes,
here.
yes, yes.
So it would be interesting, because I really liked it. So wanted to just bring it up for the audience.
Actually, Ken's question should be answered by looking at that slide.
Yeah, exactly. It would be helpful. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. So let's take an example. We've talked a lot about platforms. We've talked a lot about data governance. Now let's just look at this example. I call this the customer intelligence DNA, data and analytics, right? So this is the world of a digital marketer. This is business, not technology, not data, right? Essentially, a way a company acquires a customer has three steps. The first step is lead generation. This is me launching a campaign to generate a lot of leads. They're not my customers yet. All I'm looking for is just, can many people respond to my ad? Can they click the link? Can they fill up a form and what have you? Once I acquire once I acquire the lead, my next step is to make sure they become my customer, as in they buy my product or service. Once they start becoming a loyal customer, how can I keep them? How can I make them happy? So think about you being a loyal customer for American Airlines, right? The flight company. If I have to continue to become a part of American Airlines, they have to give me loyalty programs. They have to give me frequent flyer programs. They have to give me discounts, right? Or how do I use my frequent flyer programs? That is the way I can continue to use American Airlines for my flight travel. Unfortunately, now nobody is allowed to travel, but nevertheless, right? This is an
Right.
example. Now, there are 2 points of views for this journey, for this business process, from lead gen to acquisition to retention. There is the customer point of view. So a customer tends to evaluate a brand when they are trying to buy a product or a service. Then they buy something. And then if they like the brand so much, like I love my Nike shoes, I would definitely recommend Nike for anybody else because it's so comfortable and I'm a loyal customer of Nike. That is the engagement and the advocacy of Nike, right? So I will tell you, Ravit, go and buy Nike as well because I trust the brand and I constantly engage with the brand. This is me, the customer, talking about Nike. Now think about how Nike is going to engage with me. That is the organization's point of view. Nike will constantly reach out to me with incentives when they want to buy me as a customer, when they want me to shop with them.
Right.
Then as I become a customer, they will constantly give me insights and inputs. Like, for example, they give me videos about how to be healthy, how to run properly, how to become a marathon runner, so on and so forth, right? And last but not the least, they will constantly give me incentives so that they can keep me as a loyal customer, right? Hey, there is a Thanksgiving sale going on. Would you like to shop with us, right? So now you think about it. I am a Nike customer. I look at Nike differently. And then they look at me differently from an organization's point of view. You need three things for this to work as an ecosystem. First, you need a beautiful, easy to use, safe website experience, right? This is your mobile app. This is your website. This is the way a customer interacts with the organization. Then the
Right.
organization needs data about their customers, right? This is they knowing my shopping patterns, my social media patterns. What if I go to Facebook and I say, I bought a new hashtag Nike today? It is fantastic. Go look at it. They will immediately know that and they will accelerate that, right? And they
Right.
will constantly repost it saying, this guy is recommending Nike. That is the power of data. That is the power of intelligence. That is the power of automation. And last but not the least, all of this doesn't matter, going back to that human centered design or the change management, right? You need to think about the organization adopting this kind of a thinking, this product mindset. And change management is very important. So this is what I wanted to double down on Ken's
Yeah.
comment before, that you look at this is a combination of process, data, and experience. It's an operating model. Hope that makes sense.
Right. Very much. I think so. This is the model that Perficient uses, the CI
Mhm.
operating model for their clients.
That's right.
Awesome.
Yep.
This is
It's a
amazing.
proven technique.
But I think it is a lot of learning for me, at least in terms of the customer intelligence, because that this is something that we've been, obviously hearing about the algorithms and everything. Obviously, this is more also in terms of the algorithms. It kind of ties in very well, where we
Mhm.
know that somewhere after this, then the algorithm work and all the machine learning work comes in. But still, at
That's
the
right.
same time, understanding more about something which is a platform, and then it also works on something which is customer intelligent. It is mind blowing. So thanks for sharing that, Arvind. I know we've touched today great topics like data intelligence, data governance, and obviously now the human centered design, and
Yeah.
also the customer intelligence. So it was fantastic. But before we wrap up, I have two questions for you, very quick questions about
Sure.
which are the books that you like reading, or maybe you would want to recommend to our audience, any data books that you read. Or, yeah.
Since Scott is here, should I tell you about his book? telling the data story. So again, I've talked to him before. It's a easy to use book for you to have meaningful conversation with your organization, right? The frameworks that he's written are well assembled, and so I like that book a lot. I use it every day for my job, right? If you're interested in learning about platforms, the book to look for is Platform Revolution by Sangeet Paul Chaudhary and two other authors. In fact, I think he came up with a new book. I forget, Platform Revolution Part 2. I forget the name of it. My apologies. But it gives you a perspective on how platforms operate. Country of Singapore, country of China, so many examples, right? So it's a phenomenal
Yeah.
book to read. Some of the other books, if you're into AI, a very interesting book that I read was AI Superpowers by Kaifu Lee.
Kaifu
So
Lee.
he
Yeah.
compares and contrasts US and China and how AI superpowers kind of differ in thought process, right? That's a great book. If you're into
Wow.
health and if you're into thrillers, like not a data book but a novel, I would recommend a book called Cell by Robin Cook. This is a book
Cell.
which talks about the future of healthcare. Cell. Cell. Hmm.
CELL. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. So those are some of the books that comes to mind. But I'm also an avid book reader, so there is a lot more books. We don't have enough time to talk about it.
And I know, but I love the recommendations here. A few of them I've read. Obviously, Scott Taylor's book I've been reading now because so this is Scott Taylor's book. I wanted to just give a shout out to Scott Taylor. This is what Arvind is talking about, and the best part is obviously Scott Taylor will be on my show next month on the 27th of May. So we'll have lots of fun. Arvind, do join in, have your great questions. Obviously, I know you like Scott Taylor's, whole work that he does around the data community and the storytelling. So this will be fun. Also about podcasts, I know you've been on many podcasts, and I wanted to know a few recommendations about the podcast. And I know you're a host too, so let's talk a little about that too.
Yeah, so I'm the host of Intelligent Data Podcast. I basically started. So if you've heard me today, I talk a lot about the value of data, right? For me, it's not the technology; it's about what business value you deliver. That is
Right.
our own show, and I've had Scott in my show as well. It's
Wow.
releasing in a couple of weeks, I believe. So I've had some amazing guests. We are in season 2 right now. Season 1 was
Wow.
about all the different angles of data, the healthcare angle, the FinServ angle. But I also listen to a lot of podcasts. Right. So some examples are, if you're into data, listen to the Data Chief by Cindy Housen. She's the
Yeah.
chief strategy officer, I believe, of ThoughtSpot. Um,
Sounds
and essentially, she talks a lot, her guests talk a lot about how to think data in the context of business, right? How to think analytics in the context of business. The other one that I like a lot is AI in Business. This is by Dan Fagella and Fagella. I don't want to butcher his name. But
Yeah.
that is a phenomenal show where they talk about the use cases with respect to specific business context. So if you want to listen to that, they give you a lot of advice on how to think about AI in that particular business context. The last but not the least, my favorite guy, Bernard Marr, Business and Technology Podcast. Man, the guests are so articulate that they just give you so much
Yes.
value in that show. So Bernard Marr is another one of
Sounds
my
good.
favorite, author, show host,
Awesome.
mentor, whatever you want to call
Amazing. Thanks, Arvind, for
it.
that
Yeah.
fantastic list. I know a few of them, but I think one or two are new for me. I'll be obviously catching up on those podcasts. Let's hear it out. It's always good to hear podcast in the amazing insights that guests share. So thanks for that. Okay, I will let you go, but one last question for everyone. If anyone wants to reach out to you, if anyone wants to know more about Perficient, which is the best way? Where can they reach out to you?
So the best way to know about us is www.perficient.com. I know there are a few links that I see in the chat window that is
Yeah.
coming out as well. If you want to reach out to me, again, within our website, we have a page for chief strategists. In there, you can see my picture and my link and everything else. So you can reach out to me that way. I'm very,
Yeah.
very active in LinkedIn, so you can connect with me in LinkedIn as well. But otherwise,
Awesome.
Ravit, thank you so much for having me in the show. It's been fun.
Oh, it was amazing. I learned myself. Trust me, Arvind, I've learned so much today. I'll be obviously coming back with questions like data intelligence to you, and I'll be asking you weird questions. So please be ready for it. But
No
it was
worries.
fantastic. And thanks for everyone joining in. It was glad to have such great questions. And thanks for your insights, obviously, Arvind. People can reach out to you. Your obviously, Megan has shared your profile. So see you soon. Until next time, thank you very much. Take care, Arvind.
Thanks for having me, Ravit.
Bye bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
Yeah.
listeners.